Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me, Miss, and thank you, Hermina, for the invitation. Last year, I was also here, and I was the last one to speak. And I remember that I started my presentation saying, it's always a challenge to be in the end because people are tired, and it was very warm that day. And today I'm here and I am the first one. And it only comes to tell me that there is always larger and better challenges ahead for everyone that will bring us growth if we permit it. So thank you everyone for being here and welcome. Today I want to talk to you about the journey ahead, from being a student to finding a job in the Netherlands. My agenda is very brief. I have a brief introduction of myself and 3 stories, short ones, all of them with a short lesson that I'm going to leave on the table for you to take home today. So, who am I? Well, I am Sofia. I am from Mexico. And I am a graduate of a bachelor's in finance by Tecnológico in Monterrey. I studied doing business with Central and Eastern Europe with the School of Economics in Prague. I studied Chinese in Fudan University in Shanghai, China as a scholar of the Chinese government. I did a summer program working in Walt Disney World Company in the United States. And when I finished my studies and traveling and working in Disney, I worked for 2 years in the real estate sector in Mexico. Now, when you work in the real estate sector, you're a little bit of an everything doer. You're doing accounting, legal, sales, finance. And even when I had this dynamic job, I still wanted a change of a career path. So I told one day to myself, I'm going to do a master's. I'm going to figure out what is this change of career path that I'm going to encounter with. So that's graduation. And these are the logos that describe the journey after graduation. In a nutshell, I have done it all. I found an internship right after graduation. I found myself then a part-time job. And then I found myself a full-time job. All of this, I have to make an emphasis proudly that I did it despite the pandemic because I graduated in September 2020 with all of the hopes in my pocket, just like you guys. And I'm really looking forward to achieve my dreams. But before I even tell you and I get into the 3 stories that I am going to share with you after my graduation, I want to share with you why and how come I came to the Netherlands. Because I truly believe that remembering where you come from keeps you focused on where you want to go. So when I was studying in China, in the winter break of my studies, I went to Vietnam traveling, and by accident, I ended up traveling solo. I went to Hanoi by myself, and I booked myself a tour to a bay called Halong Bay. And when the tour bus came and picked me up, there was only 1 seat left inside the bus. I sit in the middle of these very big ladies who were speaking a language that I had never heard. And so they told me that they were Dutch from the Netherlands, from a city called Eindhoven. And they told me also that they were very willing to take me into the trip and join them for the day. At the end of the day, they asked me, Sofia, what do you want to do after you study Chinese? And I told them, I want to do a master's. I still don't know where, and I still don't know on what, but I am certain that I want to do a master's. They told me, we cannot tell you on what to do it, but we can definitely tell you that you should consider the Netherlands. We have very good education, and everybody speaks English. So I kept that advice, took it with me back to China, finished my studies in Chinese. And when I went back to Mexico, after those 2 years of the real estate sector working that I told you, I thought, what if those girls were right? What if it's time that I go to the Netherlands? And here I am. Then I was here, I graduated, the pandemic hit the world, and that is where I come to share with all of you the lessons that I have for you to hopefully also relate to me and take them with you for your own journey. Lesson number 1. Align yourself with your end goal and give it all you've got in order to achieve them. It was precisely in the corporate week, in the master's program, where I figured out that what I wanted to do was project management. I took this fantastic workshop with Rui Santos and I said, this is me. It's like doing real estate but in the office, A little bit of everything. I'm going to be putting all of my energy and dynamism in the office with results in multiple departments, and this is what I want. So what did I do? Well, I had to be humble. I didn't have experience in this, so I found myself an internship in project management in Friesland Campina, in the GMGA division, which stands for Growth Market and Global Accounts in business to business. But it was an internship, right? However, I had to take it because I had graduated in the middle a pandemic, and against all odds, you would have hoped and thought that I would have found a job right after graduation, but what I found was an internship. And that but is in fact not precisely accurate, because it was one in which I proved that I had chosen right, that my path in project management was something that I truly wanted, and that gave me the experience to continue applying for jobs. When I finished my master's, I remember asking myself, am I really going to activate my orientation year permit for an internship? Am I going to give 6 months of those 12 that I have to give it to this? To bet on the fact that the company hires me? Will I? And I did. And it was worth it. Lesson number 2, dare to take risks. Now, I have an internship. And what do I have to say? I needed to find a part-time job, because needless to say how much you get paid in an internship, and you know what they say. You have to choose your battles, and once you choose them, you have to fight them till the end. My residence permit was going to expire in September 2021, and I had until then to give it all I've got to achieve what I wanted. So I applied for a part-time job. Now, let me tell you a story. When we were in the Masters, and if you don't know this yet, well, spoiler alert. When we were in the Masters, we had an entrepreneurship assignment in which we had to find an entrepreneur who was local, whose company had at least 15 employees. These two here are two Maastricht companies, coffee lovers, you probably know them already. There's plenty of these cafes around the city. And that is Maastricht, the coffee roasters, the best coffee cups, the best beans in town. Here you find them. And I promise you all that in the entrepreneurship assignment, I thought of these two. I thought, I'm going to go and ask, and I'm going to go interview these people. But then I started making assumptions. Coffee lovers, I saw so many of them that I said, the owner of Coffee Lovers probably lives in Amsterdam or something. He or she is not going to live in Maastricht. And then I thought of going to Blanchdiel in the Wolfstraat. But every time I passed by this very charming shop, I only saw 2 or 3 people working there. So I said, no, I don't think it's 15 people there. Well, when I had to find a part-time job, I am a fond coffee lover, literally. So I applied to here, and I sent them my cover letter. A cover letter that I promise you all that broke all of the rules there. Half a page, 2 photos of latte art I've made, super from the heart, telling them why I love coffee and why I want to work for you. Seriously, it was almost a poem. And then I nailed the interview. I got called by the HR manager, and little did I know that the HR manager was going to be one of the owners of Coffee Lovers. I am sitting there in front of this lady, and when she's interviewing me, she starts saying, you know, we are a local company, we live here, we have over 150 employees. And I thought of my entrepreneurship assignment, and I was like, wow, I could have been here earlier. Then she told me also that the owners of Coffee Lovers and Blanchdiel are together, and she offered me a job in customer service in Blanchdiel in the new opening in the Sphinx Quartier in the Rickenbau building. I highly recommend that you go pass by, it's truly very cool. And I worked for them for 9 months. 9 months that surpassed the internship time. And I loved my part-time job so much that when I found my job, my full-time job, I still was there in the weekends. Today, the owners of Coffee Lovers and Blanchdiel are people I used to sell coffee from and have become people I have coffee with. Truly important local business people that opened the doors of their business for me. Having worked for such a local Dutch company against all odds, perhaps without speaking the language, and having dared to knock the door and take the risk, has been one of the best experiences I've had in the journey after my master's. But then comes the story of the full-time job. And the lesson here is, there is an opportunity around the corner, and you need to believe this. I knew I was going to graduate in the middle of a pandemic in September 2020, so I decided to look for jobs 5 months before graduation. And it took me 11 months in total to find my full-time job. 11 months after 174 rejections. And how do I know? Because I was saving every time I would get a rejection, like, you know, that generic email. We regret to inform you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you know what? Out of this, at least I'm going to build a personal statistic. I want to know how many people actually called me back. In fact, 4 people called me back. The internship, the coffee lovers. Another job that I get go to the final interview, but then I did not feel like I was a good fit. And this one. Now, when I say that there is an opportunity around the corner, it's because of this. Here, this is a screenshot of Google Maps of what Maastricht is. This is my route by bike that I took to MSM every day, or at least Monday to Friday, for 6 months before the pandemic. And if you take a little bit of a closer look, here you start getting close to Forum. There is MSM, and here is Neria, Holland, where I currently work. I used to cycle by the building where my current full-time job is, twice per day, 5 times a week, for 6 months. And I kind of for a moment perhaps discarded that I could have an opportunity so close. And this is also the message that I want to convey to you today, that there is an opportunity of finding a job everywhere where you are, someone to meet. You see a door, knock. If there's an opportunity, take it. If they're giving it to you and it's not exactly what you hope, they're giving it to you, grab it, cherish it and do it, because even if it's something that's not exactly what you wanted, it'll definitely be something that takes you somewhere else. I have to say that I said I had 4 calls back out of the 174 rejections. And this one was not even for a job that I applied to. After the 3rd call, the HR lady told me, Sofia, we want you for the job. And I had to be honest to myself, and it was in the end, after the final interview, a job that I knew I wasn't going to be happy in. Because like we said in the beginning, it's not about finding a job, it's about building a life here. I was like, this is not going to be the job for me. So I went through the stages. I went through the stages of the interview, and I was very enthusiastic, very energetic. And when I got to the final round, I thought, this is not for me. And just like I was enthusiastic, when the HR lady called me after my last interview, she told me, Sofia, how did you feel? How did you find the job? Did you like the place? And I'm a very transparent person that moves herself through energy. So just like I had been so honest, being enthusiastic, I had to be honest, diplomatic, nice, but telling her that I did not want the position. So I told her, dear miss, I cannot take the position because when I was there in the final round, I realized that I am not a good fit. And I am not going to do this to the company, and I am not going to do this to myself to then leave the job after a couple of months. How come? Well, I'm really sorry, I'm also surprised, but I am not going to take it. And then who would have been my director called me, Sofia, but we saw that you were a good fit. And I was like, sir, I am really sorry, I really was enthusiastic, what you saw was true. But now that I think about it, I am not a good fit for the position. It was difficult to say no, because at the same time, I had been looking for a job for 11 months, guys. I had on the phone who would have been my director. Probably in that moment, I even had negotiation power to get more out of the position for just the sake of me taking the job. And even then, I didn't. And you know why? Because being true to yourself is one of the hardest things to do. But it's one of the ones that comes with the biggest rewards as well. The call ended, and 2 weeks later, that same HR lady called me back. And my first thought was like, oh, they have not filled up the position. They're going to insist to me again. I'm like, what am I going to say now? But I had saved her number, so I picked up and I even called her by her name, like she was a friend of mine. Hello, miss. Hi, Sofia, how are you? I am calling because I want to tell you that I have a possible job offer for you in another company. The name is Neria, Holland. It's an agricultural company, trading company dedicated to trading agricultural chemicals. And you would be a really good fit for a management position there. Tell me about it. It's related to project management. You will do a little bit of everything. You will do logistics, registration, marketing, sales. And I'm like, this sounds right. So I took the interview, and it was one interview that I needed to go through it, to be sure of what I was doing, for the company to be sure that I also wanted it, and to be currently there still. Today, I am the executive assistant to the CEO, to the owners of the company, and it is precisely this all-around management position that I described. And not only that, it's also been the opportunity that has brought me with growth, because being Mexican, I have also taken charge of plenty of the development of the Latin American market within the company. So mark my words. Success is going to find you by committing to your dreams and giving them all you've got in order to achieve them. Success is going to find you by taking risks. And success is going to find you by daring to believe that there is an opportunity around the corner and being honest to yourself. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Sofia?
Any questions? It's very early, I know, but maybe you warmed up already.
Sofia,
Yes?
how did you decide? How did you know this was supposed to be your end goal? Because most of the time it's blurry, especially if you're moving from one career path to another. So how did you know that that's your end goal was?
It's a super good question. The best answer I think I have is that you have to be very intentional. When you wake up in the morning and you go out there, you have to wake up with a mission, because this is the mission with which I arrived. And this is what I mentioned in the beginning, that it's so important to remember where you come from. I knew I was coming for a master's, for a change of a career path, and I was actively looking for it. I was very lucky that I found it in the corporate week, and I figured out with the project management workshop that this is what I wanted to do, and then I committed to it. And I committed to it first, I think, being humble and understanding that I had zero experience and went for an internship, and continued searching with this experience I was getting from the internship, applying to similar jobs.
Thank you.
So,
Yes.
you said you had 174 rejections.
Yes.
It sounds okay now, but it must have been really frustrating.
Yes.
How did you deal with frustration?
I think that the answer is that you only understand that when you are getting rejected, you also only get stronger. In fact, when the HR lady called me for that position that I ended up rejecting in the first place, I was already 6 months through of my orientation year permit. And at this point, I had already like 173 rejections, no? So I was stronger than ever. That's the only thing that happens, guys. You might be sad and disappointed of the first 25, but after that, you just have to keep it going, because this is the mission you were here. Otherwise, what are you doing? So when the lady called me, and it's quite a funny story, in the beginning, I think when HR people call you, you're like, yes, you are wanting the opportunity. But at this point, 6 months ahead of finish my visa and having to go back, I told the lady, look, I'm very interested in the position, but please listen to me, this is my situation. I have 6 months left on my orientation year permit, and I want to give them to a company that is willing to take me, that the company can also then sponsor me, because otherwise I think you will be wasting your time and I'm wasting mine. Like that. So how do you deal with it? By allowing yourself to become stronger. Every time you get rejected, you have to make sure you learn the lesson. What did I do wrong? What was missing? And with that, you're going to only push forward for the next application. Thank you for asking. Anyone else? No?
No questions? This is opportunity. Okay.
Well, I understand that maybe now is not the moment or people get shy, but needless to say, I truly believe that life is all about the people we meet. So here's my social media, my LinkedIn. Please add me. I'm going to be very happy to connect. And thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Sofia. You're going to still stay for Anna's presentation, that's all right? Okay.